Okay, this is Mandie Grace, and in the last 3 videos we've been talking a lot about the WideX Zen 440 Mind. And we've been talking a lot about the remote, the features, the price, which for me was $6,500, the 2-year guarantee. I could get out of the TRT program after if I just quit before 60 days. You know, just going on and on with everything I could think of. But there are some very important things if you're going to do this program that, you know, I really, really want you to hear. And I want to tell you about my personal experience, okay? One thing is that when I first put them on and came home, I was overwhelmed by sound because they doubled my hearing range. So for a little while I didn't really hear my tinnitus much because I was too busy hearing for the first time in the 4 years that I had the disease. Secondly, they made my ears turn red and sore and even feel hot on the back, you know, where they sit. And where the little plug goes into your inner ear and the little tubing runs down, my inner ear was raw and sore and itched. So most people quit during this period. They quit. My mother quit. A lot of people, unless they absolutely cannot hear anymore, they will quit. They will say they hurt, they throb, they itch. The sound is ricocheting in my brain. My audiologist didn't know what she was doing when she programmed them. I can't take it. Why did I pay $6,500 to be tortured? And they quit. What you got to realize is that these symptoms will persist for about 6 weeks. Okay? Your ears will be sore. Your inner ear will be itchy. You will feel throbbing for 6 weeks. And you got to realize that. So, you know, one of the things that you got to understand, and I'm telling you as someone who went through this myself, okay, with this hearing aid, the enemy. Also realize too is that the first month of white noise, 12, you know, I had to do 1 hour, then the second day 2 hours with my remote, and then 3 hours. The first month with that white noise, my tinnitus went up. It increased. And I thought, I am so screwed. So what I had to do is stay at it. Because I had read in Tortured by Sound, and I showed you that book. Oh, actually, I'm going to show you that book in the next video. Oh, yeah. But I read in a book of another woman who did this treatment, and she said it made her tinnitus worse before she finally got down to only 1 sound instead of 12, and it was just a low hiss. So 3 people on the internet told me that it would go up before it went down. Thank God they told me. And they said your tinnitus will go up before it goes down. And I waited up, and in month 4, that is 4 months after starting the whole heckish program and paying all that money and it going past the 60 days and the point of no return, my tinnitus started to jack down. And my brain started to ignore it for hours in a day. Pretty soon it was just a background instead of in the front of my brain, like that. I went through 1 year, and then one day, for reasons I don't know, I stopped doing it. And in month 13, I just quit. And then I noticed that I didn't need it anymore. But that was after 12 long months. Okay? And ironically, I started January 1st of 2010. And on the first week of January 2011, I stopped using the white noise. I just didn't turn it on anymore. I just walked away from it. Now, yeah, the symptoms that I just told you are totally normal. And I think for every 5 people who get into this therapy and get these instruments and their doctors don't say a word and nobody says a word to them and they go home and experience all this mess, I think 4 out of 5 are going to quit. Now, another thing you should know, this is so important. You see this little plug, this innocent little plug? Okay, if you don't have a hearing loss and you're using this instrument, okay, and you have perfect hearing, I have heard audiologist after audiologist tell people, oh, you don't need the hearing aid part, I'll just give you some chimes and white noise. You see this plug? It occludes your hearing. Yeah, duh. In fact, when I had the Bluetooth programming collar on, the chip in here knew that it had to compensate, not just for the frequencies I lost and up them, but it had to up the ones I hadn't lost, because this is plugging up my hearing. So the computer program was really, really smart. I guess Bill Gates wasn't involved. I guess Microsoft Windows wasn't involved. But this, the program knew to amplify frequencies that I still have, because this little innocent looking plug plugs up my ear hole. Now, if you don't have any hearing loss, okay, please make your audiologist give you some amplification through the instrument. And I'll tell you a very important reason before I sign off. If you go through this world, and when you put these on to do your TRT and go to work and live your life, if you're sitting around and people are talking to you and they sound muffled or dampened or too soft for you to hear, and the white noise and the Zen chimes just seem way too loud in proportion to their human voices, you will take these out, put them back in your purse, or you'll take them home and you'll quit. And it's a very logical reason. If you can't function in your world, think of your world, sitting there, you know, whatever, reading, your kid walks up, where's my allowance? If you can't function in your real world, you know, you're not going to stay with the program. You're going to quit. And it's going to be totally natural, because you're frustrated by something you can't overcome. So tell the audiologist, look, if you, maybe since the WideX Zen allows 4 different programs, look at him and say, give me slight amplification as if I lost 10 decibels. You know, play smart with him. You can be smart. You can read up. You can be smart. Amplify all frequencies of hearing by 10 decibels on this hearing aid. Okay? I know I have perfect hearing, but let's just assume I'm going to lose at least, excuse me, I'm going to lose at least 10 decibels with this plug in my ear. So amplify it 10 decibels. Then put it on a program that I can turn on while at work when I have to go to meetings and stuff. So I can have the white noise playing in the background and 10 decibels of hearing amplification at work. That could be program number 3 or 4 or 5. And just be firm with them on what you need. You're the person sitting in front of that audiologist with your ears ringing. You're the person who just swiped your Visa card for $6,500. And you're the person that has to go to work and function in the real world on the world's terms. Not him, not her. And if they look like they're getting offended that you're trying to force an issue that they know better on, I already know. When they're off, I know how deaf I am. And the plugs in my ears, I lose probably 10 to 15 decibels just having them still. I've had a battery go dead. And when the battery went dead, I wanted to leave it in so I wouldn't lose track of it. And I said, oh, well, I noticed that it muffled on that side of my ear even more than I was already deafened. And I pulled it out and put it in my purse and held my purse closely to my chest. It's a $3,200 instrument sitting in my purse. And the hearing in that ear jacked up immediately. Now, it was still, you know, a 40% loss from the nerve deafness. But I realized this little plug, it occludes hearing. So come back to my next video. I'll talk just a little bit more about it, and then we're going to move on to some other things about TRT and life. Bye.